The Ravens needed a response, not just a win, but a statement that reminded everyone what this team is supposed to look like when it plays its brand of football. And what happened in that Week 15 matchup against Cincinnati felt exactly like that kind of moment after taking to hard losses inside the division. There was a sense that Baltimore was either going to rediscover its edge or let the season slip into frustration, and from the middle of the second quarter on, there was no doubt which path they chose. The game did not begin clean or pretty, and for stretches it looked messy on both sides. But once the Ravens found their footing, they imposed themselves physically and emotionally in a way that completely flipped the tone of the night. What stood out immediately was how uncomfortable Cincinnati became as the game wore on. Baltimore did not dominate from the opening kickoff, but once the defense started landing blows and tightening windows, the Bengals never truly recovered. There was a clear shift when Baltimore began playing faster, more aggressively, and with an edge that bordered on confrontational without crossing the line. That energy rattled Cincinnati, and you could feel it building with every series. The Ravens were not just executing assignments. They were challenging the Bengals mentally, forcing them to respond to pressure, contact, and constant disruption. Draymond Jones embodied that shift better than anyone. His impact went far beyond the box score, and his presence was felt on nearly every important snap. Early hits on the quarterback set a tone, and while those moments sparked reactions from the Bengals, they also revealed which team was prepared to handle the emotion of the game. Cincinnati took exception, chirping and pushing back, but Baltimore thrived in that environment. The Ravens fed off the tension, while the Bengals seemed distracted by it, letting frustration creep into their execution. There was a stretch late in the first half where nearly every play carried extra intensity. Players were jawing after the whistle, bodies were flying, and the game teetered on the edge of chaos. In those moments, discipline matters, and Baltimore stayed just controlled enough to keep the advantage. Cincinnati, on the other hand, appeared to let emotion override focus, and that showed up in missed opportunities, stalled drives, and costly mistakes. When a team loses its composure, it rarely recovers, especially against a defense that thrives on momentum. Baltimore sensed that weakness. You could see it in the way the defense attacked, closing in on the quarterback, collapsing pockets, and forcing rush decisions. There is a moment in games like this where one team realizes the other does not want the fight anymore, and from that point forward, it becomes about taking what is there. The Ravens did exactly that, tightening their grip and never letting Cincinnati regain confidence. Every stop added to the pressure, every hit chipped away at belief. And soon the Bengals looked flat, almost resigned to what was unfolding. The cold conditions played into that narrative as well. Baltimore embraced it, using the environment as fuel. While Cincinnati seemed slow to adjust, the Ravens looked like the team that expected a grind. The kind of physical battle where effort and toughness matter more than style. Cincinnati, facing elimination with a loss, never matched that urgency. That disconnect was glaring, especially considering how much was on the line for both sides. Baltimore played like a team fighting to define itself, while Cincinnati played like a group reacting to adversity instead of attacking it. Momentum became the deciding factor, and once it tilted toward Baltimore, it never swung back. Early drops and negative plays by the Bengals opened the door, and the Ravens walked right through it. A missed connection here, a sack there, and suddenly a promising drive unraveled. Those moments may seem small in isolation, but together they shifted the psychological balance of the game. Baltimore did not even need immediate points to capitalize, because the defensive dominance alone was enough to suffocate Cincinnati's rhythm. Holding an offense led by one of the league's most talented quarterbacks to 0 points is no accident. It requires relentless pressure, tight coverage, and the ability to finish plays. Baltimore delivered all of that, even while spending an overwhelming amount of time on the field. The defense bent only in terms of possession time, not effectiveness, limiting yards per play and refusing to break no matter how long the Bengals tried to sustain drives. That kind of performance speaks to conditioning, preparation, and a collective belief in the system. What made the performance even more impressive was how it contrasted with earlier moments in the season. This Ravens team has struggled at times to maintain confidence, often looking deflated when things did not go their way. In this game, the opposite happened. Even when the offense stalled early, the defense kept swinging, waiting for the moment to seize control. Once that moment arrived, Baltimore played with a swagger that had been missing for weeks, a reminder of what this roster is capable of when everything aligns. Draymond Jones' influence cannot be measured solely by tackles, quarterback hits, collapsed pockets, and constant disruption define his night. He forced hurried throws, altered decisions, and made life miserable in the backfield. When a defender consistently wins at the line of scrimmage, it changes everything behind him, making coverage easier and creating opportunities for the entire unit. That ripple effect was evident throughout the game as Cincinnati struggled to find any sense of timing or comfort. The Ravens did all of this while being on the field for what felt like an eternity, a testament to their resilience and focus. Giving up minimal yardage per play against an offense that had previously proven it could score without key pieces only adds to the significance of the shutout. Baltimore did not rely on excuses or external narratives. They lined up, played fast, played physical, and imposed their will in hostile territory, sending a clear message about who they are when they commit fully to their identity. More than anything, this game felt like Ravens football again. It was not about flash or style points, but about dominance, toughness, and controlling the emotional flow of the contest. Baltimore did what Cincinnati could not, capturing momentum and refusing to relinquish it. The contrast between the two teams grew sharper with every series, revealing differences in composure, response to adversity, and overall readiness for a game of this magnitude. As the game moved into its later stages, the contrast between the two teams became even more pronounced. And it went beyond the scoreboard. Baltimore looked organized, purposeful, and fully locked in, while Cincinnati appeared scattered, searching for answers that never came. Every possession felt heavier for the Bengals, as if the weight of the situation was pressing down on them snap after snap. The Ravens, meanwhile, played with the calm confidence of a team that knew exactly who it was in that moment and trusted the work it had put in to carry them through. One of the most telling elements of the night was how Baltimore managed emotion in a game filled with extra contact and constant chatter. The Ravens walked a fine line without stepping over it. There was fire in their play, but also discipline, and that balance allowed them to stay aggressive without self-destructing. Cincinnati struggled with that same balance. Too often, their reactions came after the whistle instead of before it, and those emotional lapses drained energy rather than creating it. When frustration replaces focus, execution almost always suffers. And that pattern repeated itself over and over. Defensively, Baltimore continued to swarm. Pressure came from multiple angles, forcing the quarterback to speed up his internal clock and abandon reads before they could fully develop. Even when plays were technically covered, the Ravens made sure every throw was contested. Every run was challenged and every drop back felt uncomfortable. That constant harassment does not always show up in highlight clips, but over the course of a game, it breaks down even the most talented offenses. By the fourth quarter, it was clear that Cincinnati was simply trying to survive possessions rather than build anything sustainable. The physicality never faded. Baltimore continued to hit, wrap up, and finish plays with the same intensity they showed earlier, which is often the hardest thing to maintain in a long, grinding contest. Fatigue sets in, mistakes happen, and gaps appear. But the Ravens stayed connected as a unit. Communication remained sharp. Assignments were passed off cleanly, and there was a sense that everyone trusted the player next to them to do his job. That cohesion is what allows a defense to hold firm even when it has been on the field for extended stretches. Offensively, Baltimore did not need to dominate time of possession or pile up explosive plays to control the game. They understood the situation and played accordingly, valuing ball security and field position while allowing the defense to dictate the overall flow. Every successful drive, no matter how modest, felt like another layer of pressure placed on Cincinnati. The Bengals knew that every empty possession made the mountain steeper, and that awareness crept into their decision-making as the game slipped away. There was also a psychological element at work that cannot be ignored. When a team senses that the opponent is losing belief, confidence grows naturally. Baltimore played faster and freer as the game went on, while Cincinnati tightened up. Passes came out a beat late. Receivers hesitated at the top of routes, and small errors compounded into bigger problems. Those are the subtle signs of a team that has lost control of the moment, and the Ravens recognized it, continuing to push without mercy. What made the performance resonate even more was the context of the season. Baltimore had spent weeks searching for consistency, often showing flashes of dominance followed by stretches of uncertainty. This game felt different. It felt intentional, as if the team collectively decided to reassert its identity and stop waiting for things to break. its way. The energy on the sideline reflected that mindset, with players feeding off each other and responding to big moments with focus rather than panic. Holding a division rival scoreless on the road is rare, especially against an offense that has proven it can score in bunches under the right circumstances. Baltimore did it by committing the fundamentals, tackling well, communicating clearly, and never owing a single mistake to snowball, even when the Bengals controlled the ball for long stretches. The Ravens refused to bend, trusting that patience would eventually pay off. That trust was rewarded as drive after drive ended without points, further deflating Cincinnati's hopes as the clock wound down. The outcome was no longer in doubt, but the message had already been sent long before the final whistle. Baltimore showed that when it plays with edge, discipline, and unity, it can dictate the terms of a game against anyone. The shutout was not about one play or one player, but about collective effort and shared purpose. Every hit, every pressure, and every stop reinforced the same theme, that this team is at its best when it embraces physical football and refuses to back down. There is a difference between simply winning and asserting control, and this performance fell squarely into the latter category. Baltimore did not wait for Cincinnati to make mistakes. It forced them, capitalizing on hesitation and turning discomfort into dominance. That is the hallmark of a team that understands how to win in high-stakes situations, especially late in the season when every game carries added weight. The way this matchup unfolded also highlighted deeper contrasts in organizational approach and on-field identity. Baltimore looked prepared for adversity, ready to adjust and respond no matter how the game evolved. Cincinnati, facing pressure and elimination, struggled to match that resilience. Those differences became clearer with each passing minute, revealing why one team walked off the field with momentum and renewed confidence, while the other was left searching for answers. This game did not just impact the standings. It reshaped the conversation around what Baltimore can be moving forward. Performances like this recalibrate expectations, both internally and externally, reminding everyone that this roster is capable of imposing its will when it fully commits to its principles. The challenge now is sustaining that level of intensity and focus. But for one night, the Ravens delivered a performance that felt authentic, physical, and unmistakably true to their identity. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. Whispers are spreading through Baltimore as tensions seem to simmer behind closed doors. At the Ravens facility, the latest spark, none other than John Harbaugh, who in a live interview appeared to openly question Lamar Jackson's leadership and performance. While Harbaugh's words stopped short of a full-blown criticism, insiders suggest that his tone and choice of phrasing left little room for doubt. There's unrest brewing in Charm City, team sources, speaking on the condition of anonymity, hint that the comments were not entirely off the cuff. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that fans don't see. One source claimed, Lamar is talented, no question, but the pressure is mounting, and it's starting to show in meetings and practice. Analysts have long speculated about the balance between Jackson's electrifying playmaking and the team's need for consistency. Now, Harbaugh's remarks have fans and pundits alike questioning whether the Ravens' locker room is as cohesive as it appears on paper. Social media erupted almost immediately after the interview, with fans dissecting every word, tone, and gesture. Some argue that Harbaugh was simply trying to motivate his star quarterback, while others see it as a subtle public airing of grievances. Either way, the speculation has only intensified, with rumors swirling about potential shifts in the offensive strategy and even internal tensions among coaching staff. One thing seems clear, the Ravens fan base is on edge. Could this be the calm before a storm that reshapes the team's identity? Or is it merely a calculated psychological play by a seasoned coach trying to push his superstar to the next level? In Baltimore, nobody is taking any chances. Every sit-along glance, every interview clip, and every social media post is being scrutinized for hidden meaning. For now, the question remains, how will Lamar Jackson respond to the subtle yet unmistakable pressure from his head coach? And will the team survive the murmurings before they become headlines? That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.